Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, OpTic versus Boston Breach in a couple of days' time is likely to be one of the most important games of the entire season for the Green Wall so far. Boston are on the verge of making it clear they're going to make it to the winners bracket. They scored 40 points this split in a very impressive manner, and if they were to win this winners round 1 game, they'd get 30 more points on the board, guaranteeing themselves top 6 as they did the last major in Dallas, and that would almost certainly be enough to secure Boston Breach at this year's CDL World Championship. The opposite though would be true if OpTic were to lose. It's a massively important series, and in many ways, OpTic should be thankful that Boston even got them there by taking down Falcons in the way that they did. But now it's time for OpTic to beat Boston and try and advance further in the tournament. Scump says that while it's for sure possible, he's not exactly convinced that this series is going to go their way. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Wanted to look as well about some of the performances we've seen so far this stage, because it's definitely been turning on its head to some degree. Here are the Falcons boys getting ready, of course, with their new team, putting some content out they thought was pretty fire as well. But and of course their social media guy who does the graphics continues to absolutely cook up masterpieces week after week. I know that there are many fans who, like, their excitement for the Falcon series is not for them to play, certainly not when they had their previous team. It was for the pre-match graphic that Osama, who's their social guy, was putting together over there on the graphics side. This was Sib's card last stage. I know that it was doing the rounds last night just because there was talk about whether, you know, a team like OpTic should have gone and tried to get Sib. Maybe they still will. I mean, Sib made it clear, he's made it clear multiple times, certainly in the off-season before, that he's, you know, OpTic would be a dream organization for him to potentially go to, and maybe that's going to happen at some point. Who knows what the future holds? I know there was talk recently about when they signed Skyz, OpTic, could they have gone to Cloud9 and said, hey, we want to buy out Sib? Like, that wouldn't have been cheap. Cloud9 would have been an organization that probably would have been open to the discussion, and maybe they will be after this season. But I think it's pretty doubtful that OpTic could get a move like this done mid-season. But like, Sib, could he go to OpTic in the future? Certainly something to think about. Another real top performer of the year so far is Neptune, since he's come back into the league. I think it's a great time for Neptune as a player, really, because when I watched him play back in Cold War, I thought this guy was actually pretty disgusting. Like, I'd watch him play Checkmate when he was on Florida back in the day. And look, yeah, he made some mistakes. It wasn't perfect. But his POV was always nice to watch, and I think this game is certainly a game that suits him very well. This is his card so far in the qualifiers this stage, and he's not been on fire, maybe, as we've seen even the previous stage, but his Search and Destroy has been pretty much the best in the league. I mean, imagine having a 12-6 first blood rate, and it's not even getting counted towards your Lion Man card because your kills per round and damage per round are literally the best in the entire league in your role. So that was, yeah, very impressive card from Neptune so far. Interesting stage for Surge. They go 4-1. There was definitely a bit of map pool expansion going on from their ends, but it's not like these wins were largely that clean, and they have to play FaZe in the first rounds, and if they lose Surge to FaZe, and they do make a bit of a losers bracket run, in their top 6 matchup, they will likely play Thieves or Toronto. Either of those games is very challenging. So for Surge to make Sunday like they did last time, they will need to beat one of FaZe, Thieves, Toronto. That's almost guaranteed that they will need to beat at least one of those teams. And look, they can do it for sure, but this tournament, I'm not sure they're going to quite have enough. I don't know. We'll see on this Surge team, right? But my feeling is that we may have seen the best of them compared to the rest of the teams in the league, but I'd like to be proven wrong because it's enjoyable to root for these guys. And especially now they've made a finals, whether they can go one step further and actually win something, that'd be pretty mega, because going into this year, let's be real, we were expecting a 3-team league after what happened with Cloud9 and the Subliners and the Los Angeles Thieves formation. We're expecting FaZe, Thieves, OpTic Texas to be the 3 teams that were sharing most of the events. That, of course, didn't really work out, and even so far, Thieves haven't won anything either. This, I think, is a big weekend for Thieves, and we'll see some discussion on that here in a second. Just to quickly mention, there was lots of talk about HyDra, of course, with the championship happening over the last few days, and Formal getting the victory. The gameplay, what's played, the game modes as well, whether it's good or bad or worse or better than competitive Call of Duty. People have their perspective on it. Like, personally, I prefer watching competitive COD than I do competitive Halo, but I can certainly appreciate it at a very high level. The big talk lately has been the game modes that we have in COD. Dylan there says, I've been watching this control mode for the last 5 years. Only year control was fun was BO Forces Octane, and only because of 5v5 and Specialists. Every year since then, it's been miserable to watch and to play. So do you guys disagree with this perspective or agree with this perspective? Personally, I don't love Control at all, but I don't think it's that bad. I don't know whether I would actually want it gone. If I could bring back Uplink, then yeah, sure, I'm down. But I don't know. Personally, I think Control's a bit better than people give it credit for nowadays. I think it's a reasonable middle ground between the pace of Hardpoint and the live-based strategy of Search and Destroy. It also makes it a little bit more understandable for newer players, but then again, Capture the Flag's pretty easy to understand, or even Uplink, right? You throw the ball in the portal, or you know, capture the flag. Not rocket science either, is it really? So that argument probably doesn't so much hold up. And I don't disagree with Octane that Black Ops 4 was the best year for Control, right? It was a game mode that was made for that game. And the year after, we had Domination. So, yeah, let's do Control over Domination. And since then, it has been Control. Once Sledgehammer figured out how to actually make the game mode for Vanguard, it took them a couple of months to even put it in the game. They were just playing Hardpoint and Search. And it was okay in Cold War, and I think it's been okay in a couple of games, but it's not been my favourites necessarily. Would I change it out for something else? Maybe it is about time, right? As much as I don't think Control is as bad as some people do, I do see the arguments that Hardpoint and Search aren't going anywhere, and for very good reason. They should never go anywhere at all. So maybe it is time that we play around with the third mode. So Methods has said, I'm not exactly sure what all these tweets here were, but he's made it pretty clear for some time that he would like to see Capture the Flag back in business. Definitely intrigued your perspective on that in the comments section below. Couple of clips to share for you guys from Scump, from the flank as well. So this is a big event for the Thieves. Now, I've been predicting Thieves to win like every event so far this year, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it. I don't know if I predicted them to win Major 1. Certainly predicted them to win last Major, and that fell flat on its face. I do believe, watching Thieves, they play the best COD. And I honestly think the team that's been playing the second best COD lately is Toronto. But FaZe, of course, are always going to be there or thereabouts. Certainly on LAN, you can really never count out FaZe. The thing is, with FaZe, it doesn't matter how the qualifiers go. They're always like the favourites until they're eliminated. It's kind of how it's been with FaZe, and I think given that they've won the last 3 tournaments in a row, that will be the case again here. I know that many people this tournament are picking Thieves to win it, and I think that's totally justified. I mean, for FaZe to go back to back to back, it's something that we've just very rarely ever seen, and while they will be motivated to do it, it's not like they've looked unstoppable, and surely some of that hardpoint weakness online will translate to LAN, even just a little bit, and maybe it makes them a little bit more shaky. I think some of the other teams around them have got better as well. I think Thieves are leveling up. I think Toronto are leveling up too. So I think both of those teams could cause problems for FaZe, and also they've got a pretty tough first round game against Surge, right? I mean, we know that they beat them relatively easily in the grand finals of the last Major, but when they played them in the finals, in the winners finals before that, it was what, game 5, round 11? So it's not even guaranteed that FaZe win their winners round 1 game. It's very likely, but it's not exactly guaranteed. They've got a pretty hard draw after a difficult run of qualifiers. So yeah, I think it's a massive tournament for Thieves. Thieves, you might argue, oh, well, if they make the finals and lose to FaZe, it's okay because at least they've made it all the way. But I don't really think there's many other results acceptable for Thieves here than to win the entire thing. They've looked too good online not to finally execute here, and they need to start getting a victory on the board with this so-called super team that they've put together. So I think the pressure's on this weekend because, yeah, if they don't deliver here, the pressure gets even higher as they go forward, and at some point they may crack under the pressure. That's not impossible either. So far, it's been okay. I mean, look, people have roasted Thieves for not winning, but the reality is both majors they've made at least the championship Sunday. The first major they were a game 7 round 11 away from beating FaZe, and we would have been having a very different conversation. So, and I also do think when you watch Thieves play, as I said, they just play from like a teamwork, chemistry, absolutely dominating in terms of map pressure perspective and the skill they have. I think when they're playing their best, they do play the best COD. But will they play their best on LAN? It's a question, because certainly they've played their best online, but they didn't play their best on LAN when they turned up to Dallas last time around. This is the bracket. OpTic find themselves on the other side of the bracket, and look, if you're OpTic, where would you prefer to be? The reality is you just need a series win, right? At this point, with the way that the standings are, OpTic are still sitting down there at 130. A series win against Boston guarantees them to 160. And look, if OpTic come top 6 this major, it's not great. But look, if they win this series, they guarantee themselves top 6, even if they lose to FaZe and whoever they'd play in the losers bracket. But right now, 30 points would be 30 points, and that would put them probably pretty close to getting over the line for the World Championship with a couple of good online series wins in the Major 4 qualifiers. And if they do anything at the major there, they might be okay, because Rocker and Cloud9 are certainly floundering to some degree as it stands. So this is also a massive series for champs. If Boston were to win, they basically guarantee themselves to qualify, and that puts Heretics and Rocker and Cloud9 on some serious alert. I'm sure that if you're Rocker, I mean, you're looking at Heretics and Boston as your other contenders, and you're saying, you know what, maybe it's OpTic, the team, that we need to be looking to lose out in order to actually make it to the World Championship. But this is what Scump has to say on this series, and whether he's confident they can win or not.
If they come out and it's a soft Thursday and a shitty Saturday, like, we're going to have some real hard conversations about this team, but I'm expecting to be absolutely locked all weekend.
Yeah. I agree, Ben. It's time, right? They need to be locked, right? These guys.
If they don't win this event, brother, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
If they don't win this event, we might have an all-time nade shot crash.
They don't at least make. If they don't at least make the final, like they need to be in the final.
If they don't win the event, brother,
so much pressure. So much
pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Look at the fucking team. Look how good they are online.
I hear that. Yep, I hear you.
That shit is insane.
I mean, listen. They're a great team. Super team is crazy, though.
I have a question, Sam. So you don't think they're gonna get punched in the mouth at least once this whole tournament? Because it's gonna happen.
What's the other side of winners? FaZe, right?
FaZe,
FaZe in Boston. Yeah.
I mean, I got them probably just playing FaZe and winners. I mean, if they lose in winners finals against FaZe, I think they probably rematch. But again, like, bro, if we get Thursday Thieves, then I don't know what to say. But I think to Ben's point, it's like you address your obvious weakness from last major. It's not like they fell off as a team through their qualifier. They played the exact same with their loss, other than their loss to Toronto, to avoid the curse.
Bro, I'm gonna make it very simple. These guys should be the first one in the venue and the last one out. They should lock in this
they
one.
Need
like
110,
110 is your first fucking LAN event that you've ever attended. That type of mindset, bro. Go as hard as you fucking can and win this as clean as possible and take that spot at #1.
And then we play the Breach. So yesterday there were a lot of different things that could have happened. There was a chance that we played Thieves round 1, which would have been absolute cinema, but also that is a very, very tough matchup round 1 for the boys. Boston, still a hard matchup. Boston's look good. They reverse swept the Falcons yesterday to get us into winners bracket. So honestly, shouts out Boston. Shouts out to those boys. Yo, chat, based off of what happened, would we still have made winners bracket? I'm sure somebody in here knows. Would we have still made it if we lost the same way to FaZe? We wouldn't have made it. Okay. So, yeah, we should be thanking Boston. But now we got to beat Boston. That's just how it be. I think this series is going to be scrappy. I think this is, honestly, out of the first round matchups, it's one of the better pools to play Boston round 1. I think we can win it. I mean, I hope we win it.
So Scump believes they can get the job done. Of course, he's going to believe they can get the job done. As he said, of all the games you would most like to play in the first rounds, definitely Boston is right up there, right? So Boston, on some level, like saved OpTic by beating Falcons to qualify them for winners. But of course, Boston also did themselves a service there because they put themselves another 10 points on the board. So although they have a more challenging first round game, also if you're Boston, are you that unhappy playing OpTic? Like Boston ended up as the 2nd seed. What other games would you prefer to play? Like, OpTic are definitely vulnerable right now. Not to say that they're an easy win, but if you're Boston and you look at your alternatives, Boston, if they'd have been the 3rd seed, they would have played FaZe in the first round. That's probably not what you want. If they'd have been the 1st seed, they'd have played Ravens, which would be, I'm sure they'd be reasonably happy with that. But, you know, I think that Boston aren't going to be too unhappy with this series either. Neither will OpTic be. So Scump hasn't run out hope on the team just yet. It's obviously been a difficult season for OpTic, to say the very least. But maybe if they can turn it around here and put something together and they can fix their communication, as we talked about earlier in the day, then they can start to make a serious run. I mean, OpTic, I wouldn't say they need to make Sunday, which is kind of crazy to think about because typically Sunday for OpTic is the minimum possible acceptable results at bare minimum. But also OpTic Gaming, the last time they placed top 8 at 3 consecutive events was over a decade ago in 2014. So, you know, they've been top 8 the last 2 events. So if they come top 12, top 8 or whatever, then they are the worst OpTic team in a decade, kind of. I don't know. What do you guys think? Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.